Americas. They hybridized those two together first, hybridized that with the Lemurians, and then crossbred that with humans. That's what produced Jesus Christ. And he's recorded as saying he came at the wrong time to get done what he meant to get done while he was here. It's been, that's been recorded. All of our history has been recorded, and none of it has much commonality to what you're taught. It does have a lot of common tie-ins to all of the fables about elves and fae, and all of that has more truth in it than what you're taught in school.
Yeah.
That device is what Gaia used to make Earth almost a virtual duplicate of her mother's planet called Eden. And you can still use that machine now to manipulate this planet, which is why they want it so bad. They want the whole system. That's why, as a part of the Freedom Team, that's why we went into Iraq and Iran, Afghanistan, Turkey, all these places. They're taking over every part of that machine. Eventually, we're going to either make a deal with Iran or go in and invade it. It's one of where the original Gates is, and it's where the main portion of this machine is. As to that, how does CERN tie in? They want to open a road bridge to bring in more Draco's troops. The battle upstairs has been going really bad, and apparently from them accessing this system, and you have to have a really high-frequency, pure mind to even enter this place. So military folks and political folks and everything tried to go in there, and it killed them.
There's a lot of documentation to this. I've spent weeks on it.
This is how CERN ties in. Now they've got robots, which were built at Pine Gap. Originally, they were going to use those to stage a fake ET invasion. They seem to have mostly deserted CERN. Everything but one portion of CERN is empty.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, they shut down the AI. Where did they put it? You can't just shut down the AI without killing it. They put it in the robots. And they're all being seen all over now around the area of this chamber. So they've set up guards around it in the form of robots controlled by an AI. Insofar as being inside of some sort of giant ship, no, not from where I'm sitting. And I got cameras out there in space all around, including, the details of what's impacting our shield and everything. The battles and everything that are going on are still hitting our shield. If we're inside of a ship, they wouldn't be hitting our shield.
It would be hitting the ship.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And plus, you wouldn't be able to see all the outer space stuff.
Well, I would.
Well,
actually, cut off my connection to the satellite.
Like if we were inside of it?
You can still see. But the deal is, it's...
If you look at this plot right here. Mm-hmm. The red is this red lens down here. The blue is the blue camera up here. They're out in space. The yellow dot over here, that's Earth.
Okay.
So I'm looking from the other side of Earth's orbit to watch what's going on. And these battles you see up here on the backside of the view in the blue and the red, that's going on right over our heads. Literally. So it's on the backside of the sun. From this view, that means it's going on right above Earth.
And it's fierce.
Patty, did you just determine from the last time what that red actually was? I remember you were showing it, but you kept on saying, I'm not quite sure what this red is. Do you know what that is now? What's being represented there?
This?
The red, the last one that you just showed. We were showing the energy coming in, and then that big red.
That was a ship blowing up near the sun. So that's why it came in a triple wave.
Okay.
sort of effect. What you had is the original opening of the gate on the backside. They blasted their way out, trying to get some ships in here illegally. So you have that wave, then you have them blowing the ship up. Yeah, that's what the wave that hit us.
Okay, gotcha.
That we tracked.
Gotcha.
And even suspicious observers tried to get data on that, but they closed out their access. I still had it, so I sent it to them.
Mm-hmm. So show on that blue screen. Show on the blue screen, Patty, that streak at the top. You were saying that was actually one of the ships firing? Yeah.
That's actually a ship being torn apart.
Gotcha.
Debris behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a Kodak moment.
Yeah, that was one you were talking about earlier, Dan? We were explaining the trail.
Where you actually see a ship on fire, and it's a Draco, Archon Draco vessel.
Oh, no. The blue camera looks far back. You know what I mean? It's zoomed out.
Yeah.
Give it wide scope. The red camera, as you see here, this is your close-in view of the sun, and you can see all the ships. I mean, if I go real time with this, you can see what's going on. I can hit right, see the big blast coming out of the. They've made a hole in the backside of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, they're supposed to come out over here on the left. If they come out the right, every time you open the gate, you get a blast of energy come out. That hits us. That's why they're not supposed to be coming out.
Got you.
That hits her.
And Dan can maybe address that too. We're talking about the Soul Gate and Patty with the round 4-star and stuff and the gate. What's happening at the gate?
Now, they call this a soul gate, and I don't know why they call it that. It's a ship gate. It's not a soul gate. It's a gate for ships.
Okay.
Well, only because the name of the portal is called Soul. S-O-L.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I call it a Soul Gate is because it's the name of the
Soul. It's not Soul. And everybody's getting confused with that and calling it a Soul Gate.
As in S-O-U-L.
S-O-U-L.
Yeah.
This is the map.
S-O-L.
This is the map of the gate system. And this is us right here. S-O-L.
So let me say something real quick here and ask a question. Can you both address the time element here? Because a lot of people who listen to these shows are still processing it intellectually or mentally through what we know our everyday existence. But in fact, a lot of the time continuums are at play here, right? I mean, they can bend and manipulate time, and things that may seem to be happening in our time may not happen on our time sequence, or, I mean, I think that's an important thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When the Dracos started a war between the Aquilans and the Elven, when Eden was here and Earth wasn't even here yet, the Dracos the Sun Gate system can be used to move backwards and forwards through time if you use it wrong deliberately, which is what the Dracos did. And the way they got that war started, they went forward in time, got a priestess of humanity of what we were meant to be, gave that to the Aquilans that said we could help them restore their planet, which the Dracos are the ones that had actually made it toxic anyway. And all their females were dying off. So they gave them this priestess of who humanity was. Sent them through the Sun Gate system by giving them one of their ships and deliberately told them the wrong way to do it. They went through the gate system back in time, came here, Eden was here, asked the Elven for help. The Elven couldn't help them, but the Elven, they tend to not really explain much. They just said no. But that started a war, and that was done deliberately by the Dracos to get our oversight removed and get Eden put in quarantine. In doing it that way, they created a paradox. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
A split in the time stream. At which point, all the data that they gave the Aquilans vanished. The proof of their perfidy in the whole situation. At that point, time stream split. It fractured.
Okay.
That is what is coming back together now. That's why different people, when they go back and think about their own personal history, going through life, and the things they remember, different people are remembering different things, and words spelled differently, and history not quite lining up. As these time streams come back together, everybody's getting merged back into the original.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. To the original.
As we move further and further to moving into the fifth level energy, that happens automatically. Period.
Wow. That okay, thank you. I wanted to clear that up because, you know, we're doing a lot of talking around this, but when you think about a lot of times some of the questions I get or the thinking that people apply, they're applying this time continuum to it, and it's not making sense to them, but we
because
really...
it didn't happen, or it wasn't said like that, or it wasn't spelled like that, or
Right.
There's a lot of issues. I mean,
Yeah.
even going all the way back to children's cartoons.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And Alice is, they use Alice and CERN to do that, to constantly keep us in disarray
Right.
and confusion.
Right. Okay.
And I think it has a lot of tie-in as well to, Alex Collier and Pattie and everyone's been talking about too is also doing not only the time continuum, but doing the repairs. We go back to our original thing and restoring even the triple strands in the DNA, and how that all has to tie into this. This is huge.
Right.
But people can only do and are only responsible for what they have themselves, what they're putting in their mouths, what they can do within their space.
Right.
And it's got to start there.
Right.
This is the bigger picture that we've got an eye on the sky, so to speak, So I think that's really a really huge point that Pattie's made.
One of the things I put out there
Yes.
all the time,
Yeah, Karen.
government cannot steal your rights from you and then sell them back to you. But that's
What they
effectively
do
what they're doing.
every day. Yep.
You gotta stop that. You gotta remove yourself from that whole system.
One of the things I came across a couple of days ago, and it's so true, a person had written that, and I say this to our listening audience, everything that you know to be true isn't. That's the only way, the greatest way of saying it. Everything that you know that's true isn't. Because that's how deceptive everything has been. And the fracturing that you're talking about, Pattie, that had happened, and now as this is coming back together and all the different spellings and places and thinking and memories are coming together, it's really trying to reassemble the truth. And so people really have to just try to take a deep breath, like they said on Bad Boys, woosa, woosa, just take a deep breath and just say, I don't know. I really don't know any of this if I haven't experienced it, because all I've ever been told these things. And then just at least allow it to come in.
A lot of these people have experienced things on alternate timelines. So it's not that it didn't happen or that wasn't the way it was. It's just that's not the true timeline.
Right.
It didn't happen here.
Yeah.
It happened there. It didn't happen here.
Yeah, where were you? And you could be standing next to...
There's another whole complication to this, because the New World Order folk and the Illuminati and the former Nazis have actually been raiding these alternate timelines for people like Bohr, Einstein, Tesla's, and everything else.
Right,
So we
exactly.
have multiples of them here now.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were looking for their Leonardo da Vinci, as Buckminster Fuller would say, trying to get the most intelligent individuals in existence so that they could further their work.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And, the other thing to say as well, as we just talk about this time thing a little bit, is that, oftentimes you hear people say, well, I was there and this is what I saw. And then someone else says, this is what I saw. You have all these different stories that come out, and then people want to argue among themselves about, well, what, what they disagreed on what they saw. But what you have to understand is when something happens and then you leave that particular place and space and time, oftentimes your timetable fractures and you take off in a different direction. And so memory and what happened changes.
Have you ever watched a TV program called Sliders?
I haven't. I've heard of it.
Yes.
It's very similar. Every time something happens, it's like the Schrodinger's question. Is if you put a dish of food in a dish of poison and in a box, you put a cat in there and close the box. Okay? The cat is both alive and dead. Both.
Right.
Simultaneously.
Right.
And what is in your mind determines which of the two you see when you open that box.
Wow, that's
That
powerful.
is a splitting of the time continuum. Every time there's a significant event that's going to cause a global event to go down,
Right.
you get a splitting of the time stream.
Yep. That's it. That's
And this
excellent.
goes all the way back to when the Dracos first took over.
That's what people need to understand. That's good stuff. Thanks, Pattie. Yeah. So now where are we with go ahead, Karen.
I was just going to add that, when this stuff too, we were talking about, Elizabeth, which was really funny because supposedly we're hearing everyone's last Christmas as well. In here. But I think that's really important that from the monarchy and what we're hearing too, and the time continuums and stuff, people need to deal with this issue. We have to get into truth here, and people have to learn to understand it. And if not, just don't say anything because you're not informed. And I don't really care, when people start saying, "Well, I believe," it means you don't know or you don't have that experience.
Right.
Or we do.
Yeah.
Or we've been through it, or we've lived through this. This is a whole different. We have the data. There's no arguing with this. It's not up for discussion anymore.
It's not
And
theory.
so we've gone way
It's
past
not I
that.
believe. This is the way it is.
This is what took place.
Well, even the use of that word, I'm just thinking about our friend Santos Bonacci, Mr. Astrotheology. But I was just sitting here thinking, even the word, and I don't know if he says this, but this just popped into my mind in line of what he says. But even to say believe, it's really it's the existence of the lie of Eve. Even the whole. From the beginning, it takes you back to Adam, as he's always talking about. But I don't believe it. Well, yeah, because that's the whole lie of Eve in the first place.
Right.
That's where I believe that word even comes from, because even in the use of that word is the trick of the word.
There was 12 prototypes. There was 12 prototypes of human beings made by Gaia. And of each of those 12, there were 7 subtypes. That is what this has been documented as recorded history, period.
Yes.
And on the human or the earth side of the making of Homo sapiens sapiens, it was done on Eden, Gaia's mother's planet.
There you go, yep.
And it was done with the mother being of the great apes of Earth. Also created by Gaia using the ancient L DNA. Now, a long time ago here in the Milky Way, there's been 2 complete wipes of the Milky Way in between. When the ancient L's first started making these sun gates and basically usurping the right of that transport system, which belongs to the level 14 Folkway Galaxy campus, they got really upset about it. And they set the Milky Way to collide with another galaxy, wiped them out. The ancient L's got wind of this. They picked up their whole civilization and left the Milky Way before that went down. They are the ones driving Nibiru, the real Nibiru, that's like 6 times the size of Earth.
Where is Nibiru right now, Pattie?
They're parked at the outside of the Sol system watching all this go down.
So
they don't want any responsibility for this at all. This was none of their doing, even though intrinsically the race of Homo sapiens is their descendants.
So let me ask you
something. They didn't give permission for Eve for Gaia to use their DNA to make us.
Oh, so when you look at the sun, like when you take I've done it a couple times. I've taken my camera and taken a shot of the sun during the daytime, and when you look at that camera, that white ball that you see to the right of it, is that Nibiru?
No.
What is that?
There was, I lost track, more than 100 other planets out here in our system engaged in battle. They're battle planets. They came in through the sun. I actually got screenshots of them when they came in through the gate, lining up in front of the sun to battle with the Dracos.
So where Nibiru is right now, we can't see it with the naked eye?
We can't see it from Earth.
Okay.
And most of what people were thinking was the second sun wasn't the second sun. It was actually what's called the Blue Kachina.
It's called the what?
The Indian legend. That's the name I give it.
It's called what?
Because that's what it's always been, the Blue Kachina.
Oh, the Blue Kachina. Okay, cool. Gotcha.
Because you got to understand, our sun is not a real sun.
Right.
It is an artifact built by the L. So you can't really draw energy from it to power. Not the type that you need to run a space battle.
Yeah, you really need something that's got energy, not just a portal system.
Right. Not.
So I think I asked you this before, but for the sake of those listening, didn't I had asked you? I'll let you just answer it again.
I mean, here's Nibiru.
I asked you: is the sun is our what we see as our sun or Sal is under the firmament?
It's not a real sun. It was a RVL.
Okay.
It's a variable frequency artifact, which is why Gaia wanted it.
Got you.
I've got pictures of the black space in the sun, where you see in between, and you can see the circuitry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really big, and it looks really old CMOS type circuitry.
Really? Now, how do you see the circuitry?
Like something you've welded, soldered.
Hang on, I'll bring up a montage.
Yeah, show us a picture of this one.
Yeah, that's it says a million words.
It's an artifact.
It's old.
L-built artifact. And this is what got the level 14 folks who run it. Because the Milky Way, every galaxy out here in this level of creation is a college campus, effectively speaking. Mm-hmm. Each planet is a classroom.
Got you.
Here's a picture.
Now that's a picture of the sun?
That's what's in the black space of the sun. I've got several of them.
Yeah, it's like you made it with from stuff from Radio Shack. Only on a tremendously large space.
This round, semi-round circuitry right here is about the size of Earth.
What?
That's how big this is.
Unbelievable.
And it's kind of looking like the Keshe thing, or that thing from Sting. This is the black hole of the sun today.
I was thinking the same thing too, Karen. I was thinking.
You see in the black spot.
That's right. Yeah.
And also, while you brought up Keshe, I had made a note to myself. I want to say it. I want to put it out publicly. I think that we need to try to get anyone who may be listening to this show as we broadcast it, that is at all a part of the Keshe Foundation or what have you. We really need a couple of these devices gifted to the new embassy that the Clan Mother is set up in right now. As you bring everything together, I think it's important that that technology be there with you, Clan Mother. So I want to just make that appeal on your behalf that that's something that the embassy does need, are a couple of those Keshe devices to help out up there right now as you get things set up.
Yeah, because it takes a while for it to begin to manifest.
Yes, it does.
It's about 3 weeks to start with the GANs and the plasma technology for it to actually start assimilating so that you can actually, utilize it. Remember, it's using what's already there and creating it as plasma field. So there's a lot of stuff that's come out. And we're just south of Ottawa in the camp building. And it was great to actually have Peter tell you how he, put up with me. And you should see me rip down all those Canadian flags down here.
Right. Yeah, and in all honesty, in all fairness, had you been invited as among the ambassadors that were invited to receive those, you would have already received one. So we're just simply asking in the stead of having not been invited to have received your own already anyway. I think it's appropriate in line with what Keshe has been suggesting and had done,
All right.
So I wanted to put that out there since you brought Keshi up.
If you look at my screen right now,
I have sent stuff to them.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Be receiving one. Very grateful.
Yep.
Besides, I got to do something with that NATO tower next door to me.
Yeah, it'll go to good use. So, Patty, what you have up here? What is that?
if you look at my screen,
Uh-huh.
you see the planet the big gas giant that's parked near the sun.
That's the one I've
And
been
here
seeing.
you can see the planets coming out of the gate and lining up.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is the one I think I've been taking a picture of because it looks at proximity to the sun. And about that size.
It's a skirmish line.
Yeah, they were forming up in front of the sun to go do battle.
What?
I've got a picture of that. A close-up picture of that. I call it the hat planet because it looks like it's got a ring hat on top of it. I'll bring that up too.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And Dan, you can talk a little bit too. You were looking at some of the stuff too with the chemtrailing and stuff too. That's why people aren't able to see. Like when we looked at stuff over Geneva, over CERN, over the chemtrailing that we're seeing in the areas. I mean, other than probably Russia.
Well, if you're in Russia,
we're seeing like
I can share
on the Anglo nation there.
I can actually share off the camera something I took earlier today, where you can actually see the landmass in Russia and the chemtrails. Let's see if I get the first. There's one. You'll see snow, but you will not see chemtrails. The chemtrails are actually on the edge of everything, and then when the ISS gets over China, then it's chemtrail city. Yeah, it's so bad that
So what are you showing us there, Dan?
That is the International Space Station.
Okay, got you.
And what you're doing is, as they began to pass over the country of Russia, the chemtrails disappear.
Really?
Well,
why is
they
that?
don't want them. They won't allow them. And so even the edges, if you zoom in, you open that up and look in, you'll see snow, you'll see clouds, and then you'll see a haze. But the haze is basically, not as thick.
Mm-hmm.
If you look far to the left, you'll see it's so thick, it's blue. If you look to the right, it's not so blue because you're actually not looking through aluminum and all of this garbage.
Wow.
Because Putin will not allow them to do this.
Right.
And so that came from the ISS early this morning.
Now, if you look at my picture, this is a picture of that gas giant that's more than 4 times the size of Jupiter as it came in with our second sun.
Wow.
You see the rim. Now, you can also see it's not in our catalog.
Oh, yeah, there's a big question mark there.
Same thing with Nibiru. Nibiru reduced in luminance as it slowed down.
What'd you say, Karen?
Notice, our little time bomb thing?
It reduced in...
bones? On that little angle there, look at the bottom right.
This is Nibiru as it slowed down. It reduced in luminance. It's an artifact. You got to understand, this is more than 6 times the size of Earth, and it was also built by the ancient elves. I've got a blueprint of it, too. They call it Nibiru, too, because this isn't the original Nibiru. This is the one that was built by the ancient elves' descendants.
Okay.
But they call it Nibiru 2, version edition 2.
Where is the first one?
It's wherever the ancient elves live now.
I got you.
I don't know.
So it's basically...
that people have seen from Earth is the Anunnaki Dyson Sphere. And the Anunnaki Dyson Sphere is only about 1/10 the size of our moon.
Yeah, so it's kind of tiny piece of... it's easy to destroy.
So let me ask you, if okay, so basically Nibiru is a manufactured, or like you said, artifact, meaning handmade. This is a artifact. So
now, so
is
the Anunnaki Dyson sphere. But
so
that's
then
the difference.
how many?
Nibiru is a planetary, a bigger than planetary sized spaceship, whereas the Anunnaki's little ball there is a Dyson sphered planetoid.
So
They stole the gold from Earth to build a gold casing around a planetoid.
gotcha.
So that they could take it through space without it and create their own atmosphere.
And that is what you see on display in front of the Vatican, at ground zero of 9/11, in front of United Nations. They keep building, unique models of this damn thing. They are working with the Anunnaki.
So then the Earth, but Earth is not a planetoid. It is actually a real planet.
It's a real planet.
Gotcha.
And it's one of the original planets that the ancient elves grew up on,
Got you.
which is why Gaia wanted it. She talked to her mother. Her mother told the level 14 folks who run the Milky Way galaxy that even though she got the new sun in, which was higher frequency, which, by the way, when they brought this sun out here and first turned it on, we lost TMS because they didn't realize this was not a regular sun. It opened the gate, the energy splash that came out of TMS.
Oh.
And
So
it also disturbed the whole gate network because this was not started by the ancient elves. It was started by the Milky Way Maintenance Department. And it created the whole spur, which is what's called the Orion spur now. And that's what woke the Orions up to shit going down here. And they came to look. And they've been a nuisance and a problem ever since.
So who's Gaia's mother?
Eve.
Eve, I thought so. I just wanted to hear you say that again. Yeah.
But Eve was not a human. Eve is a level 12 being. And when you get to that level, as part of your coursework, you're given a planet where you are to create new, intelligent, unique beings to go out and populate, the campus. That is the point.
So is Gaia human?
No, Gaia, well, Eve, in a galaxy far, far away, a long, long time ago, had another classroom. And Gaia was one of the kids that she raised there.
Gotcha.
They were transitioning to level 6 from level 5.
Okay.
And Gaia had a question for Eve. She stepped outside the space-time continuum into Eve's dorm. And that set off every alarm there was. While she was talking to Eve, they wiped out Eve's planet. That is why the trick of Eve and Gaia going into the planet that is their classroom, because if you do that, they can't wipe your planet, because that would kill the student.
Got you. So
That's why that is, that's true.
So part of the Gaia Sophia story
Gaia's not a registered student here. That's why she raised 15 other students, kids here on Earth before she even brought us through.
I see.
She's created a shield of other species for herself. Because Eve didn't tell the level 14 folks who run the Milky Way galaxy that she had Gaia with her. She had a hard time even getting another classroom after what went down the first time.
Yeah.
Because the creatures she created were dangerous.
And that's a part of what we're dealing with, is the Draco and Anunnaki group. So is that a part of the Draco Anunnaki part that, we're talking about that were dangerous, that were created as a part of this whole thing that happened with Gaia and Eve?
No.
Okay.
Somebody helped the Dracos get off the whole planet. They were a failed class.
Yeah, they should have never got anywhere.
Gotcha.
Here's the thing. Somebody from level 15 or higher from outside this campus interfered in getting the Dracos off their home planet. They also interfered in the creation when the Elven created the Fae. Because the Fae have more power than even Mother Eve's got.
Oh, you told me that before, yeah.
So there's team, and we don't even know who they are. And that was what caused the level 14 folks who run the Milky Way galaxy to put Eden and the Fae and everything in quarantine. They pushed it half step outside of the space-time continuum, so they're in isolation. We can still get to them through the gates, but essentially, Eden is still here in this system.
Mm. So then, you were earlier before we started taping, Pattie. You were speculating on why we were getting all this protection now, and why this group of people have come through the salts. Can you explain that?
Folks opened those up, got into that lab. It set off an alarm,
and it called in the big guns.
Yeah.
So to explain to the audience, what do you think actually was happening? What's happening? Why this going on?
Used the skeletons that were on this planet originally. Brought it through the Sun Gate here. This was supposed to be a second lab for Eve, but Eve gave it to Gaia to have her own kids. She used the ancient elf skeletons that were already here. That's those 65-foot tall jobbers.
Okay.
To build a race of El to run the lab and help her create the prototypes of Homo sapiens sapien.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when that process was over, those folks were still here. Like I said, inside these tunnels, they have evidence of the Dracos attacking them, and I guess they left, and that's who, with the triggering of the alarm, that's like who was brought back.
So do you feel that what's going on now with everything you're showing us, you and Dan, what you're showing us that's happening, all these galactic battles and stuff, do you feel that we're getting, that this whole thing is being righted? I mean, like, I know we're trying to get rid of the Dracos and the Anunnaki, but are we trying to...
Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Before Gaia and Eve even came here, the Galactic Council were warned by elder races outside the Milky Way that the Dracos were a problem. The Dracos have been around a long time before us. Mm-hmm. And when this planet was brought through the Sun Gate and set up here as a classroom, the Dracos became squatters on it. Now, the Galactic Council...
Oh, my goodness.
When Eve needed somebody to run the Avatar program, suggested the Dracos, because they were already here as squatters.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they've been warned that there were going to be a problem. Currently, the entire Milky Way is on a collision course with the Andromeda Galaxy because of the problem that the Dracos and their 6 parasitic allies have become. If the Council does not get them under control, in 100,000 years, the Milky Way is going to plow into Andromeda and kill everybody and everything in the Milky Way. Mm. This will be a third time this has been done.
Hmm.
This is what's coming.
Right.
So if the Council isn't willing to get out there and do what needs to be done, then I guess we're going to have to go out there and do it ourselves.
Right. So let me ask you something, Dan. I know you and I have talked before about the moon and that gate. And I noticed on the 25th, on Christmas night, a moon came up. That moon was just a different looking moon to me. And then that morning, Saturday morning, you looked into the sky. The moon was just as bright during the daytime as it normally is at night. It wasn't a faded moon. It was a bright moon. What was going on with the moon? You know?
The question is, was it our moon? Because somebody simultaneously, they posted it to my Facebook today.
Oh, okay.
Got a picture of the moon in the sky over the west coast of the United States.
Yep.
And Australia, simultaneously, on opposite sides of the planet.
I took a picture of that. I'm gonna send you a picture of that, Pattie. I took a picture of that because I'm on the west coast here, and at 7 o'clock in the morning, it was on in the western sky, big, bright, like a nighttime moon. Normally, by the morning, it gets a faded kind of look to it. You know, this thing was bright like daytime. I definitely knew that this was not the moon I normally look at anyway.
Well, it's not.
So what was going on there?
It's holographic.
Holographic.
Well, no, it's not. you got to understand that, like the Blue Katina, she brought 4 entire planets plus moons in with her when she came in. That's when they came in, these battle planets. Moons. So, I mean, we got a lot of extra stuff out there.
I got you. That makes sense.
So, was it our moon? Probably not.
Right? You're saying it.
Probably just not our moon. One of the other moons.
Well, it definitely was weird looking. I can tell you that much. And it was really big, too. It seemed like it was bigger than... Not really big, but it looked a bit bigger.
We call it the eyeball one because it looks like it's got a dye on it.
Yeah, it does. It looks like it has. It looks like a giant eye.
Yeah, the markings look different, too. In the center there, it looks more like an iris. It looked more like an iris than the triangle shapes and stuff you see on our normal moon. It definitely looked different. Okay. So go ahead. So where are we now with, because we are at about an hour, almost hour and a half on this broadcast. So let's kind of wrap it up, or you get the rest of what you want to say out so that.
I mean, I've got a picture here. I'm going to, hang on, let me open this up, preview. There's 3 of them all together.
Oh my God, I see it.
So, yeah. I don't know what the names of them are. But yeah, it happens a lot.
That's crazy. That center picture you're pointing to, I see it.
Yeah, that one right there. 1, 2, 3. I'm blowing it up. There you go.
Crazy, man. Look
and
at
one
that.
of the interesting things too is you
wow.
Up, Robin, is that people are seeing different things around the globe right now
right.
because of different positions and where we're sitting, going through, on this galactic journey that we're all on here.
Right.
Anyway, one of the interesting things though is for people to enjoy this. I mean, this is
no
new
fear.
stuff. So
I mean,
got to get, got to be responsible. Be responsible for yourself. Enjoy this. This is people's transition. It can be a time of peace. This is what we're supposed to be doing, is bringing down and laying down the original laws of peace.
Right.
And it's a restoration.
Wow.
And for us, it's like basically coming back to living our original customs, usages, and laws, and knowing who you are. And so one of those things, too, is really important that, get your own affairs and your own place into alignment. Get everything cleaned out. You've got to have a place of order and not chaos. I was busy taking down crucifixes and the W peace sign everyone. That's really a Masonic thing. I'm taking things out of here. They even have energy of that don't belong here, that is accumulated, that can be recycled. And people really need to, come into alignment with what truth is now. And we're not going to tolerate this stuff. This is based on the original customs, usages, and laws of life.
I like that,
it's got to be cleaned up, and we'll deal with the Parliament, and we'll deal with the Justin Trudeau's, and we'll deal with all this crap. But that's for us to do, and
right.
This is, I'm really excited to be in the Micmac and the Ojibwe and looking for drum circles and looking for raw food groups and Simply Raw and stuff like that as to what's in the Ottawa area. But more importantly, I went down to Merrickville and stuff with Peter, so I'm getting orientated into the area. This is where the water is. If I need, I know I can land a helicopter here. And we are going to require some assistance, in doing some things with some different supplies, and that's how you can get a hold of us, like clanmother13@gmail. We need
right.
to get that stuff into place.
Here's the thing.
Right, exactly. I like that, Karen. That's awesome. That's cool. That's what's
Here's
happening.
the thing. We're supposed to be going from 4th level energy to 5th level energy. You cannot do that out of fear. That's too low a frequency.
Yeah.
The so-called Red Katina or the Destroyer, if you look at this Soho 9, 8th month, 16th day, it came, it got its ass kicked right out of the system. That is not going down. The destruction of Earth is not going down.
Okay,
The
great.
resetting of Earth using the second sun to burn everything off the surface is not going down. Period.
Right. That's great news.
Forget it.
Right. And I like that you said that, Patty, because some of the things that I've noticed, and not that we give a darn really about because we know you have a lot of trolls and a lot of misinformation out here. But anytime you put information out, the first thing people want to say is, oh, that's fear porn, or, you know, you're creating fear among people. But, you know, information is information. Now, how you interpret it, if you want to interpret it fearfully, then that means you're interpreting most of your world fearfully, not just what someone said on a YouTube video. But, you know, it's about, like Karen just said, and what you just said, Pattie, these are exciting times. You know, these are times where, you know, we can really roll our sleeves up and be a part of the solution, and be a part of moving forward and creating our lives that are healthy, like Karen, you talk about, you know, taking control of the food you eat, take control of your health, take control of the laws, you know, take control of what's going on in your life, because you can control what's happening around you. You may not be able to control what's happening in your city right now, but if each person takes personal responsibility, you know, we'll leave all our daggone driver's license at home. The police are can't stop everybody and put everybody in jail if you stop using your license. It's impossible. You know, so people just have to get on board that we all have been slaves. And the biggest lie has been, let's look at certain groups of people. Let's make the African Americans slaves. Let's make, you know, some of the Pacific Asians slaves. And then everybody else can sit back and say, well, look, they're the slaves. We're not. No, everybody's a slave here. You know,
we're all in the same boat. We're related. We're actually family. So
yeah,
we need to start taking care of each other.
Right.
Regardless of what.
We are trying.
Point blank. Everybody has the
absolutely,
same mother.
Dan. Yep.
At the outset.
Yeah. Right.
So we need to start treating our family like, you know, families should be treated.
Right.
With love and kindness.
Exactly.
The African folks got it hit worse initially. They were the first group that the Anunnaki did major changes to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, does that mean that they're not human anymore? No.
Yeah. So, I mean, so the point is that the information that all of you all are putting out and that we're all sharing with these videos, it's about self-empowerment. Take the information, take what you can use. Some of it may be too much for you. I mean, sometimes I listen to the three of you guys and I'm sitting here like with my eyes like glazed over, because I mean, I'm still trying to take a lot of this in, but I'm not refuting it and I'm not refusing it. I'm allowing it to kind of like, you know, old, like good wine, you know, just kind of get mellower over time, you know, just let it sit there for a minute and let it do its thing, you know, but because it's all new information and it's like you said earlier, Pattie, it's information that they do not want you to know.
Yeah, because they want us at each other's.
I mean, this goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel and all of that, and the creation of all the different languages from all the different species out there in space was deliberately to create dissension among all the different groups of humans.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that makes you food for the Draco's allies.
And even the latest thing they're doing, because pretty much, I think for the most part, except for where people's emotions still kind of like when your back is up against the wall, what's in your heart comes out, you know. So if you're a racist, when you're, you know, maybe you're not acting like that normally, but you can, you know, if your back's up against the wall. But mostly now, most people are not at each other's throat because of the color of their skin or any of that stuff. And so what do they have to do, guys? They had to form a whole new artificial group of people for us to be afraid of, and that's called ISIS, because nobody's ever seen damn ISIS. So all you can do is say, oh, it must look like this, it must look like that. And so they've had to create a whole new group of people.
They didn't create a new group.
Yeah,
ISIS, the folks of ISIS, who are supposedly Muslims, are actually Martians. They made a deal with Mars for equal exchange of territory.
Yeah, because it's international corporation conglomerate. It's all.
I mean, they run ISIS and Al Qaeda and all that are actually the Martian Muslims who are going with the deal that part of what Obama made when he was out on Mars was an equal exchange of real estate. We've got more than 40 city-sized manufacturing centers on Mars, and now they're going to get their equivalency in real estate
right
here on Earth.
Right.
That is what that's about.
And like you said before, Patty, the whole idea is that they can't, because they can't do disclosure, like we talked about before, Karen.
But understand this. The Martians destroyed their planet and warring with themselves.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna do the same damn
I
thing
don't
here
want
if you're
them
not
doing that
careful.
shit here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you let them, they'll...
Right here. There's absolutely no right, and that thing too is when they entitled as noble grandmothers and stuff, we're noble to do that. They don't have those rights that we do.
Right, and people
so that's very, like when you're in these territories, and like when I went to say Ojibwe or Methmac or whatever, this is the whole thing around Ottawa. I mean, where the water is and who holds those rights, we do. I do for that.
Right.
And so this won't be tolerated.
Right.
Let me state this for the record.
Right.
The original Queen Elizabeth group, otherwise known as the Tudor group, okay, signed a contract way back in 640 BC with the Klan mother to do their own thing for a while. That contract expired September of 2013.
Okay.
Not that it matters, because an eviction notice was served on Queen Elizabeth for violating every portion of that treaty on August 8th, 2013. She was given an eviction notice. At that point, no corporations or anything she had anything to do with no longer has any validity at all. No corporations, no commerce, no nothing.
Right.
And so she is living in Denver Airport. Well, she's at the airport in Denver because she doesn't have any property anymore.
She was convicted. She's a convicted mass murderer,
wow.
And she's currently on the run from the World Court Justice. She was taken to court, found guilty with all the evidence, and then she ran.
Yeah, so you have to think about the fact that so many people want to turn it. I'm sorry. So many people want to turn a deaf ear to Putin, what he's doing. Oh, it's Russia. Oh, it's this. And people are so silly with that. But the reality of it is Putin also just showed us where all the money that's been supplying ISIS, if you're talking about $90-something million a month for the oil that has been being purchased, in the Ukraine there. This is the kind of money that's been pouring into this ISIS organization that people have been claiming they couldn't find out where the oil was going and all this nonsense. I mean, you have to understand.
You need to stop thinking of it as oil.
Mm-hmm.
Oil, all that is an exchange medium,
right.
And what they're actually drawing on is human blood and lifetime.
Right. Yep.
DNA.
Yep.
And the other thing too is with my lavas and stuff in those areas, those are some of our original ancestral lands as well. You get Tibet and all that.
Right.
But and mirror peace. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And then, Pattie's very correct. I mean, this is based on women's DNA and blood and children being sacrificed.
Right.
And being used as banking. And that's why it's going to end. And, there are no trusting and no trusting. And the RH negative, Pattie's going to address. They cannot have any property. They cannot have any owning of anything. And
Baphomet or Satan or whatever you want to call the devil, okay?
Uh-huh.
That is Saturn, not Satan. Saturn, who has been pissed off ever since they brought the second son in and shut his ass down and kicked him to the curb. He's been interfering and empowering different groups of bad types here on Earth to do things. That is what's going on out in Hollywood. The selling of your soul thing, that's switching from the link power to your true self from the fifth level to Saturn level energy. It's a much lower energy.
Yep. And if you don't believe...
That's why they brought in the Elven, who had the Saturn as the original son, and created hybrid human Elven people, so their DNA frequency would be lowered. That is the whole point.
Right.
They want your DNA frequency low enough so that the Dracos can hijack you.
Right.
And hijack your uplink. Because the Dracos, even though we told them they can't do it, want to hijack your uplink to the fifth, go up there, invade, and take over. And that is actually causing actual death of children. who down here on Earth could be anywhere from newborns to 110. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It matters nothing, because this is not a true time. This is classroom, and no time really passes where your true self is in the cradle up on the fifth level of life.
Right.
But the crap that Dracos are doing are actually killing children in their cradle while they're here in school. That's real death.
Right.
Otherwise, if your body here, your avatar body here dies, you go to the blue people, who eventually, reading your DNA frequency from your last body and what you have left to learn, slot you into a new fetus.
So,
that's why you have two brains. You have a forebrain and a hindbrain. Your hindbrain is the ape brain, not the lizard brain, as they're trying to pervert that whole knowledge base right there and calling your hindbrain the lizard brain now. It's not. It's your simian brain that runs your body. Your forebrain is connected to your uplink.
Right, exactly.
But you notice every time they talk about it on the news or something now, when they get into biology, they're starting to call it your lizard brain.
Oh, really?
That's another little inconsistency I've noticed lately. They're calling your hindbrain your lizard brain.
And you said that,
brain, which is what it is.
Okay. So, and the other thing, if you notice, I mean, like with symbolism, the symbolism for the devil and all this stuff has always been distorted. But look how many how many things that we see as positive actually carry the symbol of Saturn, which is the circle with the dot in the middle of it. And people, look at Target, look at their logo. There's so much of this everywhere. And we give power to that because of not knowing what these symbols really are.
Subliminal program.
Yep.
Hand motions and everything. While if you listen to any of these political speakers, they're always doing these hand motions and stuff, and in the background, you have symbology flashing at you almost constantly. It's all subliminal program, which is why I tell people stop watching TV. They're programming you.
Now, is Saturn...
We need to really go, I think, focus on the grounding and on the earthing right now for people to go back into reconnections into findasspring.com.
Yes.
Getting reconnected back into what levitation is and true ennobled elements, true ennobled minerals, true ennobled foods. There's life beyond organics. It's called wild and, wild savage
and forest.
We need to get back into these superfoods. It goes very, very deep, and that's why I'm went for my little walks here already back into the, forest and getting reconnected back to the trees. It is. I kind of look at this right now and I'm going, I'm seeing all these little boards and all these ships coming and everything, and that's like all these chemicals and viruses and spores and molds, even in my environment right now. It's being cleared out,
everything.
And that's what
everything
people
at
have
this
to do.
level of creation.
This isn't fake.
Right.
Everything at this level. Everything has to do with frequency. And if you're in a city, your DNA frequency is being overwritten by what they're pumping through the cell phone network and the wireless computer network. Mm-hmm. And Gaia can't talk to you.
Right. That's so true. That's fundamental right there. I've noticed that myself. It's just shutting this stuff down. You gotta, and I've said that before on my shows, you gotta get off this electronics for a certain period every day. Close this stuff down and just go outside. If you can just do nothing but sit on your front, balcony or patio or something without the cell phone next to you, turn it off. Because you can't hear anything with these emissions all around you, and it's reprogramming you. As much as you don't want to think you're being programmed or you have implants going on in your mind, you really do. These signals are sending stuff directly to the brain, and it's programming you.
This is huge. I just want to say, I'm on a grounding map that I've got off Christina Van Art at Biomass Canada, okay? And using those oils I got off, like Rose John and stuff like that at Wild Rose B&B and stuff like that. But it's the oils, it's the saline, it's the pH stuff. It's getting healthy, And if you can do stuff like that, that's great. But take some bentonite or take some zeolite, take some dirt or earth every day. We need to do that. And I'm still doing sessions now that I can see with people here for, getting biofeedback. But steel biofeedback. That's an amazing process.
Right.
You know, getting into the actual, you know, knock on wood, really, things in here. You know, and that's what we got to do. That's what I'm very much, you know, oath and stuff like that, right? Not testimony. That's testes. That's a whole different thing. You know? But anyway, that's what we're going to do is go back to basics. You know, if something went down, you know, getting enough wood out here. You know, this is about thriving and having fun and not being conservative and being conserving things.
Right.
With the money thing. Because, you know what, there's more than enough wood out there. I can go with an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and that's being self-empowered. But the thing, too, like you said, like the Keshe machine, and Dan's right, we looked at it. It's going to take about 2-3 weeks for it to start
it does.
doing the nano changeover, the nano coding, and so that you're able to create and co-create that.
Right.
And I know with stuff, too, I looked at the Magnet Ground. They're going to be setting up something near Ottawa or Keshe, you know, Ontario.
Right.
Again, we're going to get past that sort of thing. But on Facebook, Pattie's put an awful lot of information out. So
yes, she has.
You know, to take a look at what we've got going there. There's some amazing stuff going. And we can't thank you enough, Robin. I mean, I wouldn't be communicating to people right now if it hadn't been for gifting and stuff too, like a, you know, a computer so we could talk at least and not look pixelated. And we're having difficulty too. I shouldn't be having to deal with ExploreNet. I've had half my internet out.
Right.
For 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. And it's not for... It's
not having a D-Link router.
Right.
You know, because that's obsolete. You know, and this is about, we've got more than enough resources in this area here that should be, you know, gifted over. And anyone that's in these areas close to me, I would appreciate, you know, the contact and getting some stuff here that we could start setting up properly.
So again,
and that's an easy thing to get a hold of us, whether it's Facebook or it's Healing Circle Network or it's Clan Mother 13 with a K at Gmail.
Yep.
We need to have these things. I mean, I came into here and there's not one room that's finished properly. I mean, it's great to have these gifted, and you know, with the Collins and their RH negative stuff, it's being gifted back over to use an embassy, and that's awesome. Great, and that's greatly appreciated. But it's the restoration of what is really ours to start with.
Right.
It was upsurged over these times, and we're doing with things as friendly and as peacefully as we can. But we have zero tolerance for a lot of stuff, you know, the abuse and stuff like that, and. I mean, right now, anyone that's, you know, handy, I mean, there's not one room that's finished in here.
Right.
You know, or to keep properly, or it's been done properly. I mean, there's a lot of things people can do in community contribution.
Yeah,
or in kind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because
it would be really appreciated that way.
And it's important to go back to the...
bed here yet.
No, and it's right, and it's important to go back to the knowledge that I like to say every time you come on the show, Karen, is that you are Clan Mother du jour. I mean, you are the only Clan Mother right now, you know, during these times, and you're trying to hold all this down. And like Pattie has said and has tried to explain during this video, that it started with 1 and went into the 12. We had 12 or 13, right? And now we're down to 1. So you have to understand that a part of what's coming across in these videos and these presentations are an opportunity for people to understand sources, you know, and what's going on.
Wait a minute. You got to understand the 13th tribe, all the tribes, the original 12 tribes plus the 13th, they were created separate from Homo sapiens sapiens. They were to be like the groundskeepers and the keepers of contract. Well, people would call contracts now. It's not contract. It's treaties.
Treaties, yeah. Okay.
And to be the judges and to control what went on here on this separate. That's why all our blood is different. And we were created because our oversight was taken away due to the actions of the Dracos behind the scenes and creating the split timeline. That is why Gaia created the tribes to put us all out here first. She put us down on every major continent. There are 2 plateaus that subscribe 120 degrees. That's where she put us to set up camp before she brought Homo sapiens sapiens through, of which there was 12. And each of those were created using a ape, what they call, some call it Ani. You know, the great ape, the first great ape, formed the female side of the equation of the star seeding, and the of the 15 races that Gaia raised originally here before she brought humans through, 12 of them provided seed stock. That's the great seeding. That's what you see on the Mayan time chart and all that. It shows the seeding. That's what that was about. And the creation of us was done on the planet Eden, her mother's planet. I've got pictures meeting of the original island, and then she brought us through, Homo sapiens through in 2 groups of 6, and we've got the migration patterns and everything of all that when that went down.
So who's the male? Who's the male seed? You said that Homo sapiens.
Of the 15 classes that Gaia raised here on Earth for other people out there in the galaxy, 12 of them provided seed stock.
From the galaxy.
Arcturians were the head of that program.
Who was? I'm sorry.
Arcturians.
Okay, Arcturians.
Now, when Eve made her first species here on Eden, before Earth was even brought through, the Palladians provided the seed stock for her to make the Elven race. That's how most things go. Most of the time, there's only one seed stock. That's what Gaia did that was unique. She pulled 12 different species to build her humans. And on the female side, she used the ancient L DNA.
I got you.
So we're actually a combination of 13.
Wow.
Now, because the tribes were not supposed to interbreed with Homo sapiens. That's why, the tribe used to do the blood brotherhood thing.
Right.
Slicing open the wrists. And then you'd overlap the 2 wrists and tie them together.
Right. Mix the blood.
That was so that if you were a tribe, you would die. If you put tribe blood into a regular human back then, it would clot their blood solid and they would die.
Really?
Yeah. That's one of the things the Dracos undid. That's tied to the whole Rh positive and Rh negative issue.
Oh.
That the Dracos worked so hard to cashier. They succeeded back in 1716. That's when they, just before they signed that contract.
This is the stuff that they keep. Like if Pattie knows, she can say, RZ's RZ. We're Rh positive. AV, whatever, and you can go in and actually start seeing now. This looks like, Area 51, Alien 51. You can tell where things are being played and with grays and stuff. I mean, this is not eat for your blood type or eat for whatever. This is about knowing your lineage, your DNA, and your trilogy DNA.
Right.
Prior to 1716, the only way they could get hybridized was doing in vitro. Kidnapping a person, stealing their egg, working it genetically, and then putting it back in, and then returning you. Prior to 716, that was the only way they could get around this problem. After 1716, when they signed the contract, made all female so they couldn't own property and all that crap, it's because they worked the serum to get around that, the Rh positive and Rh negative.
Wow.
And the general population.
Which is what the syncretons were doing, like in Saskatchewan. That's what they found was the trend.